Welcome to the first episode of our podcast series From the Ground.
So the goal for this podcast is to genuinely give like our own opinion, right, on real estate markets in Singapore. And what we hope, me and Joanna hope that is that in our podcast we will be able to give you our non-biased opinions and help you in
your real estate journey.
Yeah, correct.
Yes. So we will be answering a lot of burning questions that's probably on a lot of people's minds, but nobody dare to answer.
Or very hard to find
answers to.
Very hard to find answers to. So, yeah.
So before we head into this podcast proper, the first episode, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop us a message.
Yep.
We will read your comments and get back to you whenever we can.
All right.
So let's see. What shall we start with today, Randall?
Okay, so I think today one of our topic that actually came to my mind that I believe can help viewers, right, is that if today is a young couple, there's a young couple or someone who is just starting out in their real estate journey, or let's say HDB journey for context for today, should they start with resale HDB or BTO HDB?
Okay, I think this is a burning question on a lot of people's minds now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, especially after post-COVID, HDB actually took a long time to build. This is one thing, the wait time. And then, of course, the second thing that I think a lot of people are more concerned about was the recent update in terms of the classification of the flats. So it just used to be kind of like a one-size-fit-all classification. Then after that, they came out with a PLH model. All right. And then the most recent announcement was there's going to be a Prime Plus and Standard model.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess in deciding, which is the kind of best option that anyone should go for, there might be a few things that we may have to think about. Budget being one of them. Obviously, if you are going to deep into the resale market versus the BTO market, BTO is obviously going to still be cheaper. But a person's timeline, whether or not you can wait for a house, etc. And then, of course, also because of the difference in the MOP period of the Prime Plus versus the standard flats for BTO.
Yep.
And basically the resale will more or less follow the standard model.
Yeah.
There is that difference in how long you have to hold the property for the minimum occupation period before one gets to sell.
Okay.
So this plays into, I guess, future planning also, whether it's for family planning in terms of the size of the flat you're going to get, or in terms of future income. For example, if you have upgrading aspirations.
Upgrading aspirations.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'll just pull out the chart for the
location.
Yeah.
So
location, sorry.
Yes, the location. So this is basically from CNA lah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can briefly run through the chart with viewers lah.
So of course, like your prime area will be like at your central area. So actually, what's there to say? It's just mainly standard plus and prime lah.
So I think prime primarily because PLH has kind of addressed that. It's kind of in the same category to me.
Yeah.
In the sense that they will mostly be in the central region.
Okay.
So that's where prime housing is going to be.
Yep.
Now, what we will not be used to is that there will suddenly be plus housing in the other, like rest of Singapore, basically.
And this
not
is
in
even
the
for the outside region, right? Like
yes,
OCR.
even in the outside region. So, of course, the details are a little bit hazy as of now.
Yep.
But for whatever we have pulled out, right, it seems to indicate that anything that's probably near to MRT, near to amenities, they may very well be classified under plus.
And by plus, you are talking about like 就是10 years MOP lah.
Yes. It will be 10 years MOP period.
Okay.
And then they will not be able to do a full unit rent, for example.
This is after the MOP.
Yes, after the MOP period.
But does this apply to like future buyers as well?
Yes.
So future buyers coming in to buy that particular BTO or the plus BTO,
yes,
they will also be restricted to this not being able to rent out the whole unit.
Yes.
Wow.
So there is a certain, but there is good reason to be, because at the core of it, if you want to maintain HDB as the primary function of it being affordable housing for Singaporeans, right? So this is number one. And then number two is an equitable spread in terms of whether or not you're in what kind of income bracket, you have an opportunity to actually stay at a more well-located location. Because there is actually quite a lot of subsidies that's being put in for Prime and Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of to help people It's not to say that you're disadvantaged in any way. You can still come in. It's just that because we give you all these concessions, then you will have certain concessions applied to you when you have to sell.
So to put it simply, the Plus Prime, in a way, because of all these subsidies and restriction, is really, really mainly for own stay.
Yes,
something in that sense, lah, right?
Yes.
Like it's not like those like in the past where you get your BTO and then you have the like we call it the lottery effect.
Yes.
Right. I think we won't be seeing a lot of it for Plus and Prime, right? I think. Yeah.
Well, there may still be in a way, but at the core of it, because the buyer pool, that means eventually if they sell, I mean, if we look at the time horizon, this thing is going to start the second half of this year, right? Like later Q3 of this year.
Yeah.
So assuming they take like, for example, a 4-year building period, okay? And then you have a 10-year MOP period.
Well, that's 14 years already.
Yeah. So you will be looking at the effects kicking in really only about 14, 15 years later. Okay, so but what one thing that's a bit unique about this is because the buyers themselves, that means the resale buyers for this particular category of houses, right?
Yeah.
They will also be kind of restricted by the income ceiling, which is the same as the BTO level.
Understand.
Yeah. So in a way,
it's different as compared to right now. You buy resale, there's no income ceiling.
No.
Other than if you take HDB loan.
Yes.
Right? If you take bank loan, then
if you take HDB loan or if you want a grant, then obviously there are certain criteria to meet. But otherwise, you can be, a high income earner. But if you do choose to stay in, for example, Skyview at Dawson, nobody can stop you.
So it means that in the future, this Plus and Prime, if you are selling them, then there is still a restriction in terms of the income ceiling.
Yes.
Wow. So in a way, this is to curb the prices, right? So that it doesn't go.
It places a natural cap lah. Because if you have an income ceiling limit, then it places a cap on the amount that you can borrow. So even if you take the max income, which is at current 14K, right?
Okay.
So whether after MSR, how much they can borrow, but whatever cash they have.
Yeah.
So this places a natural.
There's a limitation to it lah.
Yes,
Understand.
but of course, there can be the argument that so and so has a lot of cash up front and they can afford to pay, right? So there can be still anomalies like this. But by and large, I think, compared to the current resale structure where it's a little bit freer in the sense, then yes, there might be a very natural cap placed on the price, appreciation in the future.
Understand.
But it actually works very well for people with a very long time horizon.
Yeah.
So let's say my parents are here. I know that I'm going to be here anyway because for childcare support.
Yeah.
And children is not going to grow up overnight. You're going to have to be with them for 10, 15, 20 years. Then if you park yourself in this, it can be very, very affordable housing in very good areas. So I think...
Which is the main goal of HDB in the very first place.
Yes, this is what I feel is the main goal of HDB in the first place. And not that a gazillion people ballot for it and if you get it, yay, because you're going to sell for millions of dollars.
Like previously, the Pinnacles and...
Yes.
And other than that, right? Yeah. Okay, understand.
But so it also creates a very interesting situation for resale.
If like that, then... Okay, so just to clarify to all the viewers, right? So for the current HDBs, let's say in prime location or they are near MRT, which is sort of your future plus one, right?
Yeah.
They don't have this sort of restriction.
No.
Am I right to say that?
No.
So 5-year MOP, normal 5-year MOP, no
no income
ceiling, don't have the full whole unit cannot rent out, those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Then does it make sense to just go for resale instead?
Yes, but because if you dip into the market, so let's say everything remaining equal. Let's take an example. Let's say Toa Payoh MRT. Assume that there's a spare plot of land there now.
Yeah.
Okay. So everywhere else is the kind of old model because all resale flats. So it works on a standard kind of criteria, right? Then there's a plot of land there. I'm going to build a new cluster of HDB, and this I'm going to place it under the plus category.
Yeah.
So if you are side by side to each other, yes, of course the plus is going to be newer because they're going to be new builds.
Yeah.
But they will be restricted to this. But for a current, let's say 4-room flat that is within walking distance to Toa Payoh MRT, the amount that you're going to pay for it is definitely going to be a lot higher than what you're going to pay for the BTO under the plus model.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's why I say budget comes into play. So if you can afford the time, let's say you're young, You know, you just graduated.
Yeah.
Whoever you met in school, you're going to marry.
Yeah.
Whatever. And you decide, we shall go the BTO route. Right? Yeah, we shall go for the BTO route. So, okay, you apply. Then after that, you get your flat. Maybe you're 29, 30 years old. And then you set up your family. You have the luxury of time. Then I guess it's just nice. And it's, as I said, a long-term play, right? Your parents and everything are all there. You're going to have a family. Your children's going to need childcare support.
But do you think that, like, if let's say we are talking about, because like I think viewers nowadays, or in the past, BTO, people who buy BTO generally, they always have the thought of like, oh, after I buy, I complete the MOP, and then usually I will be able to profit a certain amount of dollars, right? So using this context, right, moving forward, right, I think for the Plus and Prime, possible that we will still see this type of profit, but I think a lot lesser because of all the constraints. And of course, the main purpose of HDB in the first place, like we have said, is not for all these profit makings, right? So, but then again, I'm not too sure. Like, there's a gap, right, for the resale one. The resale HDB that is in the HDB, nearby the MRT. So people should, if budget is not an issue, right? I mean, if it's me, I would definitely like consider that lah, because it gives me a very, very big competitive edge there.
So one thing about the competitive aging, I think we also have to think in terms of time, because to hold for 10 years versus to hold for 5 years is a lot of difference.
Yeah,
and this 10 years is not inclusive of construction period.
Yeah.
Right? So just now, as we pointed out, when it's finally launched, these models, when it's finally launched in the second half of this year, right, you'll be looking at the effects of it coming on stream, maybe 14, 15 years later, which if I had bought a resale HDB now, I could have changed house 2 times already. Just contextually, if you can imagine.
Yeah, in a way lah. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. So all this will come into play. That's why when I actually pointed out certain conditions or criteria on a personal basis that one has to think about when they enter or make
so
a
it really
decision.
depends on what they want, right? What they want, right? If they are looking at Plus Prime, that means you really have to consider staying there for a very, very, very long time and have to be okay with like...
Correct. And actually, contrary to, of course, we do see there's a fair amount of condo buyers, I mean upgraders lah, that actually comes from the HDB upgrading market, meaning they MOP, they make money, then they decide to upgrade to better. But for this particular type of people, this particular group, right, some of them may even choose to keep their HDB flat after that, as a form of investment, which you can do depending on how you actually structured your ownership from the onset. Okay,
so you're saying from the start, the ownership.
Because from the onset, even if it's husband and wife, you can have one owner and one essential occupier, and after 5 years, the essential occupier can effectively come out to buy a private property, which means you can retain your HDB, right?
But by doing this,
the purpose is it?
As in, of course, the purpose is to
rental lah.
For rental play lah, and then of course, when you buy that second private property. Then you are not subject to the ABSD.
Correct.
Right? But I think something that our viewers have to take note is that by putting yourself as an occupier, that we are not able to use our CPF to house the monthly installment.
Of course, there are certain constraints, but in lieu of the fact that currently our ABSD environment is such, why some people still choose to do it is because HDB traditionally gives a very good rental yield.
Because it's cheap lah. As in terms of
don't say cheap.
Affordable. In terms of the yield for the rental to I mean,
so let's say we take it from that perspective, right? So if we take it from that perspective, doing the Prime Plus is definitely a no-go for them, because you can't even rent out the whole flat even after you see through 10 years.
Yeah, correct.
Right? So it's a no-go.
So no matter what, you still need to stay there, what?
So we take Prime Plus no-go. So then we look at standard. We just look at the BTO first, because there's 3 ma.
Yeah.
So Prime Plus, no go, we look at standard. Standard, maybe location, not so ideal. Then rental.
I think we never talk about what is standard first.
Yeah. Standard, actually, no difference from whatever is happening now.
Yeah, it's actually the same. It's just that it will be mainly on the outskirts of Singapore. And the thing about standard is that won't be near MRT, even if you are in the outskirts. Likely not, right? Likely not. But the good thing about it is the usual lah.
Yes,
so fire MOP, no restriction. You can do your rental, you kind of play.
Correct.
You can do your essential occupier, one occupier, one owner kind of play.
Correct. So again, when it comes down to that, so let's say within these two of the types are already out for me,
Yeah.
If that's my long-term planning.
Yeah.
So I'm left with standard or resale.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have to make an educated decision as to which one we want to go into. Let's say today money is not an issue. Like I can afford that resale.
I'll go resale.
Okay, then because clearly you can probably buy a better locale, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no restriction at that time.
I mean, that is if budget is not an issue lah.
That's true. But there will also be people where budget is an issue.
Definitely.
So then how? Okay, so they can still go for standard and kind of execute this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it kind of will still work out.
Yeah.
But as I said, then it's entirely up to the individual what kind of choices they have depending on the circumstances they are in.
Yeah, I think one thing good to take note is that there's no wrong move in terms of whether you are supposed to go standard plus or prime or even resale HDB. There's actually no wrong move. It really depends on what is your goal at the end of the day moving forward. So for example, like standard plus prime, you have to plan for at least like
many years
8
ahead.
to 14, 15 years ahead.
Yeah,
right? So you need to know like moving forward, what are your plans?
Yeah.
Right? Whereas for resale HDBs, right, is quite straightforward, whereby it's just 5 years.
Yeah.
Or the shortest period of time is 5 years.
Yes, the shortest period of time is 5 years.
So the planning might be that there might be more flexibility to it.
Correct. So a lot of people will consider this in terms of opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Because markets will move, whether it's the HDB, private or whatever markets.
Correct.
It will move. And 5 years and 10 years actually does make a significant difference.
Correct.
So that's why these things has to be very, very kind of well planned ahead. And then second thing is also just on a more pragmatic level, right? Like family planning. You might think, oh, I don't want children, so this size flat is enough. Then oops. Then
something
but you
happens.
cannot move. Because you're stuck 10 years, because you buy prime plus.
It's true.
So all these things.
So you have to be very firm, which honestly is
Or be very clear-minded when you make your choices. So it's not that, prime plus is not good. It's actually
It's
if
not.
one wants to live in like genuinely central, good transport nodes,
And
etc.
at a super affordable price. I will call super affordable price.
Yeah.
Then
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's really a no-brainer.
Yeah,
to
it's
go
a
for
no-brainer.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the considerations. Also, I don't know, perhaps, because you're younger than me.
I think perhaps because I'm younger, and for me, I like to go on the, like what you say, the opportunity cost kind of route.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I want to, build up my portfolio as fast as I can.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going on a resale route. But I think maybe some viewers will also be concerned, like, for example, buying a resale, right? Do they have any resale value? Being that, resale HDB in the first place is not even for money making, right?
In a way.
Right?
In a way.
In the sense of capital appreciation making. But it's just that during the past 3 years where COVID happens, fortunately, a lot of resale HDB has been doing well.
Yes.
Especially the bigger units one.
Yes.
Like your EA, EM and
5
stuff
rooms,
like that.
yeah.
Right? So I think some buyers have this type of restriction, mind block in their mind when they think about going resale. Yeah.
Actually, it's the same for any kind of property, right? When we think about own stay property, I think we have to perhaps adjust our mindsets a little.
Correct.
Why I say that is because today, if I want to stay somewhere, okay, there's
Somewhere
only, I don't want to stay with my parents anymore, and I want to come out, I want to stay with like your spouse or whoever, right? So let's say, so there's actually only 2 routes. One you buy, one you rent. Right?
Correct.
So today, if I buy, I basically am paying kind of to myself. The only extra that I'll be paying is interest lah.
In a sense lah. And
right?
Yeah. And the interest rate in Singapore is
still considered
is
low,
low lah,
versus,
to be honest.
Worldwide mortgage interest rates.
Really
They're still
low.
considered low.
Yeah.
But regardless, so this is the kind of mindset to take. At the end of the day, even if you buy at 600, sell at 600, for example, which I find quite improbable.
It's still cheaper than renting.
It's still cheaper than
You must say that, right?
Yeah, it's still cheaper than renting.
I agree.
So if we take on this kind of mindset, like you treat your house more like a piggy bank, then I think it will make a lot of decisions easier in that sense.
Understand.
There's this clarity lah when you enter any market. Of course, I'm not saying that resale doesn't grow, but if you look at whatever is happening, it is very likely that all the well-located ones, the current flats, which are not affected by this categorization, I think it's going to be boomtown, actually.
I think so too.
Because it will be
It
very...
really makes sense.
No restrictions.
Anything. And there's no upcoming... I mean, unless there are changes lah.
Yes.
We cannot foresee lah.
Yes.
Right? But if things remains the same, right, then all this will be like really like your limited kind of product already.
Yes. And you cannot change location. Like if you're in Queenstown, you're in Queenstown. You're in Bidadari, you can't change that fact that they are in well-located places, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel that there is still potential, whether it is in BTO or whether it is in resale HDB. But fundamentally, it's still, you know, at this juncture, if you want to enter the market, which product actually meets your needs best? That is the more important question to answer. Because I can tell you, and this is the best.
Yeah,
but
correct.
A, it doesn't fit my timeline.
Correct.
It doesn't fit my budget.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, then no point lah.
Yeah, correct. Okay. So I think with that, I think we'll
end this episode.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we gave some enlightenment. Hopefully.
Yeah. So like we say, right, there's no right or wrong properties. Like when it comes to HDB, like there's BTO. You want to go for standard, you want to go for plus, you want to go for prime, or even resale. There's no right or wrong. There's really no right or wrong. It's just that what is your plan?
Objective.
Well, what is your objective moving forward?
Yeah.
And then how, by knowing your objective, right, then you can.
Correct.
Right. Like know your goals.
Just for prudence lah. I would say, you know, for the younger viewers out there who are thinking of entering this, well, whether it's either options, right? Have a bit of forward planning. Like have a bit of envisioning what's going to happen 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years later. I think
in their life,
yes, in their lives.
Yeah, okay.
Because then I think it gives you more clarity as to what to select. Of course, it may not pan out as you wish lah. But I think it will give you certain clarity as to what you can choose, what you should go for, etc. Of course, if you have any further questions with regards to this and like you can't sort yourself out, you're welcome to drop us a message.
Yeah, just drop us a message. Or you can just comment down below.
And then we can use our combined brains to help you reach a reasonable conclusion.
We'll try our best to help you lah, to give you like the best choice you can do.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching and see you on the next episode.